People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, October's been and gone, so we might as well review it from an Arsenal fan's perspective, or I might as well give my opinions. You guys know I'm big on, I wouldn't say I'm big on data, but I'm big on reference points. I don't like to be saying things if I haven't got a reference, and I like to challenge my own narrative, which is why I started this. For instance, just as a random example, I might be saying that Czech is playing appalling, but statistically, out of the player ratings I've given him in the month of October, if the stats come up and say that he's been playing 10 out of 10 every game or whatever when you calculate the averages, it's just interesting to see what my narrative and what's actually happened and what it actually means, innit, people? And I wouldn't say I've been shocked, but I've been surprised by a couple of the results. Obviously, I've not included. If you've obviously some subs have been given ratings, but if they've come off the bench and I don't believe they've done anything of note or they've really had enough time to really do anything to get a rating, then I've excluded it. For instance, yesterday against Blackpool, you saw Aubameyang, Lucas Torreira, and they will be coming to the field, but there wasn't enough time for them to do anything, so I've disregarded them games because it would just complicate matters even more. I've enjoyed our football this month. At the end of the day, 13 games played, 12 wins, 1 draw. We now enter a difficult November period. I've made several vids about it. Our next 5 games, I believe, will make and break. We've already well, it wouldn't be Arsenal, even though we've been playing well, it wouldn't be Arsenal without an injury crisis in November. It's not a crisis, but on paper, at least to the fans' point of view, until we see against Liverpool, we actually don't have any fit fullbacks or first choice fullbacks, but it wouldn't be November without these sort of things. And we know as an Arsenal fan in November is booky as well. So yeah, I think we've been playing well. We've been winning games clearly, racking up points. We should have more clean sheets because you look at the goal yesterday against Blackpool. I'm going a couple months back, but against Volska, Crystal Palace, Cardiff to a degree. Throughout the season, there's been Fulham. There's been goals that we could have, Leicester. There's been avoidable goals. Cheap goals, what I call them. Obviously, we can't sit here and say we're never going to concede in a season and things like that. And these things will happen, but more often than not, I feel we've been gifting a couple of goals. Obviously, it's nice to see that we've started off well in the second half of games. We still need to kill games in the first. I still think we're allowing opportunities for the opposition to have too many chances at our goal or create chances. But we're making smart fouls, can improve. We're tactically improving. You're seeing different formations and things like that implemented. So yeah, man. And still off the movement could be better. Defensively, we could go up a level like I've said. But yeah, man, November's here with a bang. So I know I should have just really included that at the end. But let's just move on. So now the player ratings. Like I said, if you didn't really play, I didn't include you. But obviously this month, games against Fulham, Leicester, Sporting Lisbon, Crystal Palace, Cat Yarrowbag. And to round it off, we've had our game recently against Blackpool. So let's start with Petr Cech. Now, his rating's just a 5. I mean, he hasn't really had any time to play, really. As far as if I remember correctly, he hasn't been involved in any of the match days this month, really, apart from Blackpool because of his injury. Forgive me if I'm wrong, to which I hold my hands up. But he's only scores a 5 because that's the only rating he's got. How can you have another average? I'm not smart at maths. I actually struggle with maths at times, unless you put a pound sign in front of it. But I know that. Leno's best game for me came in the Fulham game where I've given him a 10. His worst game for me came at Palace where I've given him a 4, which has left him with a rating of 6.8 for this season. I believe that's what it says. Sorry for the clicking, people. I'm just signing it off as I go along, man, so I don't get confused. But that's Leno anyways, people. Who else now? Mustafi's worst game was against Crystal Palace. He was so-so against... Well, not so-so. He was all right against Blackpool. And his best games for me, he ranked a 7 against Fulham and Leicester, people. So that ranks him at 5.75. Decent, respectable rating. It's technically more than half. So, yeah, walk away with that. We've then got Socrates, who's had problems with injuries and things like that. His average is a 5. He's only played 2 games. I've only registered him for 2 games in this month against Sporting Lisbon and Cat Yarrowbag. So that's him. Rob Holding. People, Rob Holding's stats are decent, 5.6. I mean, I don't necessarily feel you've been better than Mustafi, and this is why I do these things, people, because, I mean, I'm the one who gave these player ratings and things like that. I don't feel he's been playing better than Mustafi. For me, Mustafi's ahead of him in the pecking order, but my data is telling me that that extra 0.75 is going to Mustafi. In fact, forgive me, people, I think I've read wrong. It's 5.6. So, yeah. Well, a minor percentage has gone to Mustafi. So you get the point, people. I need my glasses. But yeah, his best game came against Fulham, and then he's put in some standard so-so performances. Not so-so, but 5 out of 10s against Palace, Sporting, Cat Yarabag, and Leicester. I'm a hard person to please, innit? Monreal's been riddled with injuries, and he scored a 5.5. After he got a 7 against Fulham and a 4 against Cat Yarabag, people. If you think any of these are wrong, none of them are wrong, but if you think they're wrong, beef Microsoft Excel, not me, people, because it's me pressing averages and it's working it out. But Kohler's got a 5 because he hasn't been included he's not been included in any match days, really, apart from Cat Yarabag, where he got 5. Lichtstein, very concerning this year for me, this month especially, gets a 4.4. That's off the back of, he got a 4 against Leicester for me, a 5 against Sporting, 4 against Palace, a 4 against Cat Yarabag, 5 against Blackpool, so he really needs to up it. Bellerin, who's one of the better players I thought this month, he's been at fault for some of the goals, but I think he had a better month this month, and he's got a... That could never... Is that right? Yeah, alright, cool, you're telling me that's right. That's mad. He says he gets a 4.5. He scored a 7 against... I gave Bellerin a 7 against Fulham, a 6 against Leicester. That's probably why, because there's a 0 there. Let's move that, see what happens. Yeah, and it's changed to a 6 now, you see? I knew something was beaky there, people. There's a 0 there. There was a 0 on one of them. Apologies for that, people. So he's got a 6. Bellerin has a 6. Like I said, I think he was one of the better players this month for me. 7 against Fulham, 6 against Leicester City, and then he got a 5 against Palace, I believe. So yeah, he's had a decent season on the offensive front, but he can improve defensively, as we know. Torreira, no clues there, people. I mean, it's Lucas Torreira. He's got a 7.2. Best game came against Fulham. His worst game was against Cat Yarabag, where he got a 5. And then he got 3 7s against Sporting, Leicester and Palace from me. Xhaka. Come on, mate. 5.75. Ooh. I mean, it's alright. Same as Mustafi, cool. He got a 7 from me against Fulham, a 6 against Leicester, a 6 against Sporting, a 4 against Palace. And I don't feel he played any significant part against Cat Yarabag or Blackpool, sorry. So he gets a 5.7. So Mustafi's played more games and he's got the same rating, I think. So that's cause for concern for Mustafi. Guendouzi gets a 5.4. I mean, it's difficult because I do feel as he gets on a bit, he needs to be a bit more smart with his football. But I like his passing and things like that. He's put in some good performances from me, and his best performance probably came this month against Sporting, actually in the Europa League, because he got a 6 in the last 2 Europa League weeks, and he's got a 5 against Blackpool, Leicester City and Sporting, but we also saw him get sent off against Blackpool, so I could have marked that down. So he is rough around several edges. He's a great player, but on sheer basis of top level flight games played, both here and in France, he's still inexperienced. And when you look at the red card for 2 silly yellows, they were yellows, but harsh as well, but 2 silly yellows. You look at, it was either against Chelsea or Manchester City, similar to Bellerin a couple of years ago when he was the last. Remember when Bellerin was the last man against Liverpool and he gambled on the header, and I think Salah counted. Something like that happened against Chelsea or City, and I think it was Chelsea, and I don't believe it led to a goal, but things like that. So yeah, interestingly, Ramsey's got a 5.75 as well. Similar to Mustafi, probably because he got a 10 against Fulham when he came off the bench, and he dropped a 4 against Sporting and Palace for me, and then I got a 5 against Blackpool. So that's what he gets. El Nene gets a 4, 2 appearances, 2 4s in the Europa League campaign from El Nene. He can improve. He's been quite poor for me. Emil Smith-Rowe gets a 7. He's only been included in 2 games. Well, he's been in match days, but you get the point. And he's got a 7 from me. Danny Welbs gets a 5.25 because he got a 6 against Fulham, a 6 against Sporting, a 5 against Cat Yarabag, and a 4 against Blackpool a couple of days ago, last night essentially, a couple hours ago. He was appalling, so yeah, he was pretty poor, and he's been in good form on a goal scoring front as well, Welbs. Maybe there's a couple clubs that are interested in you in the summer or January, they're taking note. Lacazette gets a 7. He scored a 10 against Fulham for me, a 7 against Leicester. He weren't involved in Sporting of any real note, if I remember correctly. to get a rating from myself, and he got a 4 against Palace, which holds his hands up. He's been one of our best players this season. He's, for me, definitely the striker you probably put in the first team, the first name you put on the team sheet in regards of attacking options. I know Aubameyang scoring goals, but yeah, he gets a 7. That's a respectable score, to be fair with you. But he had a bad game against Palace. That brings it down. Iwobi, 6.5. Is that right? Sometimes it gets a bit fishy. People have to question what Excel are looking at. But yeah, he got a 7 against Fulham, 7 against Fulham, people, 7 against Leicester. He then got a 4 against Crystal Palace and an 8 against Kat Yarabag. So he walks away with a. I'm lying, people. I'm lying. It's not 7. It's not. Did I say 7.5 or 6.5? Sorry, people. The Excel's playing games. I should really get my glasses. But yeah, Iwobi gets a 6.5 after, like I already said, he got an 8 against Kat Yarabag, a 4 against Palace, a 7 against Leicester City, and a 7 against Fulham. And I feel Iwobi's been in good form as well. I would have thought his thing would have been a bit higher than that, but he's still. I mean, I've said what I've said. Torreira's got a 7.2. Emil's got a 7. Lacazette's got a 7. So yeah, he's in good company, to be fair with you. I did think his team would be higher, admittedly, people. Mesut Ozil gets a 7. He hasn't played that many games this month. He weren't involved in the cup competitions, to be honest with you. And he's played in the 2 games against Fulham. And well, he didn't play against Fulham, he had a cold. But he played against Palace and Leicester, in which he got a 4 against Palace, held his hands up, he was anonymous, and a 7 against Leicester, in which he was involved in everything. And we saw the moves for the goals. They were quality. We need a bit more we need to get a bit more out of him in November, because we've got big games coming up, starting with Liverpool. But yeah, he gets a 7. Aubameyang gets a 7.5, 7.75, sorry, people. 10 against Fulham, 10 against Leicester, 6 against Sporting, and he gets a 5 against Palace. So yeah, the goal saved him. So 7.75. Mkhitaryan, another concerning player. He walks away with a respectable 5. He got a 7 against Fulham from me, a 4 against Leicester, 5 against Sporting, and a 4 against Blackpool. But I haven't been impressed with Mkhitaryan when I've seen him, to be fair. For me, Mkhitaryan, Lichtsteiner are probably, and to a degree, Ramsey, but Ramsey isn't really playing. They're the ones I'm kind of need a bit more from you. And El Nene, to be fair. Them 4 or 5 names I've just said need to see a bit better. Been a bit underwhelming this month for me. Maitland-Niles obviously gets a 5. He's only played 1 game. The same goes for Jenkinson, who gets a 6. And Pegler who's played this month, gets a 5. So you can see I've included everyone that's literally kicked the ball for us. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, man. It's interesting. I'm positive with how we've played. Like I've said at the beginning, we're trying a bunch of different formations, and if we aren't trying that, they're changing in game slightly. Like Unai Emery's approach in regards to that. I'm liking how offensively, defensively, counter-attacking, set pieces, we're getting there. But by the same token, we can do a lot more. We're conceding too many cheap goals. We need to shut games out when we can in the first half. Try and put a bit more stamp on the game in the first half, in my opinion, and get something out of it. Clean sheets is a big one, and we probably are gifting opportunities too much to oppositions to have goal-scoring opportunities or score, as backed up with the amount of goals we've conceded domestically. We're there with Palace and Brighton and sides like that for that. But we're scoring goals. Home and away, our away form has improved. Not like it was hard to better that from last year. We're doing our thing. 24 Premier League goals scored, 13 conceded, I believe. I don't know when I got them stats up, but if things change, forgive me. My player of the month would be Torreira. Like I've said, my dud of the month would probably be El Nene and Mkhitaryan. And yeah, man, it's just interesting how the stats come up. So like, if we look at the stats, the worst performing player is El Nene. And then you've got, it's El Nene with 4, and then it's Lichtsteiner with 4. Our best performing player is Aubameyang, who's scored on a goal scoring front. He's up there for one of the top goal scorers in the Premier League, so he deserves to be up there. So Aubameyang, Lacazette, Torreira, Iwobi, these are the players that are playing quite well this month. I felt Bellerin deserves his 6. Good thing I knew to check that again. I felt Bellerin probably deserves to get into a 7, maybe if I watch the games again. But that's mainly because he's improving in terms of an offensive front. But yeah, obviously not everybody's played every game this month, and this will happen where if they've only been available for 1 month, obviously players are going to be near the bottom end, as you're seeing with Maitland-Niles and to a degree Socrates, because I believe Socrates has been alright this season in a large part. He's had up and downs, but you get the point. So yeah, people, man, that's the player ratings and my player ratings and my just thoughts in regards to how October's gone, man. So I'll return with this in November and we'll see how it compares. But for now, people deluded, get in a comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish. I'm out.